So apparently this year is going to be a stupid weather year, and we're going to talk about heat management. I want to talk about it now so everybody can get ready for it. And also, if you're living up north and you don't really get hot summers, this still absolutely applies to you, because through the course of this you may actually change the way you plant, whatever. It definitely applies. So let's manage some heat, but let's do it smart. Do a quick bolt check today. You can see we took this bed right here and we cleared it out. Everything was bolting in the back half, and we've got some lettuces that are bolting. You can see the aftermath here. This all has to go to the chickens. I'm gonna split it probably 50-50, chickens and compost, but we're starting to clear it out because this is why it affects everybody. Doesn't matter if you live in the south, doesn't matter if you live in the north, heat affects all plants to some degree. And the reason why I say if you live up north, you know, I'm a firm believer that if you're living up north, you can grow cabbages well throughout the summer, but you still need to protect them from the heat. Case in point, you can see the greenhouse, there literally is no hope for protecting from the heat. When it's time, they all bolt, but it is what it is. And look, spare me the comments about putting a shade cloth over it. Don't insult my intelligence, because I've absolutely done it and it doesn't do a damn thing. As a matter of fact, it raised the temperature because of the black shade cloth. And if I got a white shade cloth, look, I'm not chasing my tail. It just is what it is. But let's say you live in the south and you're growing tomatoes and peppers and all that stuff. Well, you still might need to protect them from the heat. I'm in coastal North Carolina. Today it's about 82 degrees, and it just got me thinking, okay, this is the golden period for our summer plants. We're right there in the sweet spot, but it's gonna quickly go away, and who knows what the coming months have in store for us. So we wanna have a plan of action. That's really important. The last thing you wanna do is get stuck with your pants down. You know what I'm saying? That's embarrassing. It's everybody's nightmare in school. Give us a comment if you had that nightmare when you were in school, where like you walked into school naked or something weird like that. It's just terrible. So I digress quickly. So let's take this and go step by step on how we're gonna do it. You can kind of split the difference a little bit between the summer plants and the spring plants, what I call spring plants, which are your typical cool season crops. But there's a lot of different small things that all add up to make a big change. So I think we should start with cool season, and let's just get this out of the way. Is obviously, you've been watching the channel, you know, time out your planting so that you are kind of coinciding with the onset of heat. That's what we have tried to do. So as you can see, we are coming up into harvest period. Things will be winding down for this bed, and that's exactly what we want. So this just takes a little bit of tweaking each year, year by year. But there's other things you can do as well. So we left our low tunnel hoops up in case I got froggy and I wanted to put a shade cloth over this to lower the leaf temperature a little bit more. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of heat stress on these plants. Typically what will happen is you'll start to see these about right here. They will kind of fold over like that, and the leaf will look limp. What that's doing is it's kind of protecting the pores underneath the plant, kind of cooling it as much as it can. So, you know, if you start to see that, that's something you can do. Now, I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I believe in 100% honesty. I'm too lazy to do that. I left them up there, but I don't foresee myself doing that because I know my weather, and once it starts to creep up there, it does not come back down until the fall. So that's kind of where we sit with that. It's up there. I don't know, maybe it's up there to make me feel like I'm doing something, but I don't really do that too much. And I don't employ a lot of shade cloth in my garden because we kind of ride that fine line. And when we get to the tomatoes, I'll show you and explain to you why we don't. But we've kind of figured out how to kind of avoid using the shade cloth. I do use it, however, for my fall plantings, which I have to plant in the end of the heat of the summer. It'll still be plenty hot, but we'll need to protect them. So I do use it for that. And if you've been a follower of the channel for a while, you've seen it and you'll see it again. I think we'll just jump all over the place. That seems to be the fitting thing to do. So I was mentioning the tomatoes. I grow determinate tomatoes. They will all start to die out around the middle of July. So we will get our harvest throughout June and May into June, and then they will start to die out. and that's kind of by design. So we don't really have to put shade over it. The peppers do actually start to struggle. It's been very interesting dealing with peppers. I mean, you can see, first of all, it's a windy day, and they're loving this right now. So as a matter of fact, if I look at this, I mean, we already have peppers growing on this little plant. We don't want that. So we'll take, I needed to go through and pull them all off. It's a little bit early for them to be producing peppers. I want them to be focusing on their roots, but that's for a different video at a different time. That's why we grow determinate tomatoes here in the South, because it's just easier to deal with the heat. You kind of catch it in the warm up of summer, and then in the heat of the summer, we can go in and then we'll do our second planting. So we'll take cuttings, which we will do on video, don't worry, and we will propagate them, and then we will start more tomatoes for a fall harvest. So we'll get a little bit of a gap in between our harvests, but that's perfectly fine. So all of that helps, but that's why we don't really focus too much on adding shade, because it's just an uphill battle. The way I look at it is two ways. First and foremost, I don't think we should have a perennial hardiness zone map. I think we need to have a vegetable heat map by the USDA, but what, you know, who am I to say? I don't work for them, thank God. And the other thing is adding a lot of shade to your garden. It's almost the same thing as like planting too late in the winter, or, you know, in the spring. It's like you want to time everything out in the summer so that you're getting the bulk of it during the good period, the optimum growing temperatures. And then after that, you can cut it back. So really the thing is, and I mean, I know I say it a lot. I say it a lot on the Backyard Gardens podcast. I say it a lot here, but timing is everything. And I think even now, you know, if you're planting, let's say you're living in Florida, you know, it's a big state. First one came to mind, Texas, whatever. And your last frost date is in March, which I think is typically when it is. You should be planting out determinate tomatoes right around March, right around your last frost date typically. And then after that, you know, you'll be, right now you should be harvesting tomatoes. And then you kind of have beat that. You've gone through the heat of the summer. You've got plenty of time to take cuttings from those, propagate them, and do a second planting after that, and then leave a little bit of a gap in between. Now, we talked about in the last video, that gap period is a great time to put in some kind of summer cover crop. It's a great time to put in some kind of heat-loving crop. Like I did those Seminole pumpkins, love the heat. I did those black-eyed peas, love the heat. You know, all those things. There are plants that will do very, very well in your area, and I think we need to kind of mold to that. You know, there's a reason why every state has a certain food that it's known for, right? Just think about that. You know, if I was gonna plant, let's say I lived in Georgia, and I wanted to plant a fruit tree, I don't think I would really focus on an apple tree. I'd probably focus on a peach tree. You know, it's known for peaches, so why not, right? You know, same thing in, you know, I don't know. You pick whatever state you're in. As a matter of fact, what is your state known for? What vegetable or fruit is your state known for, and do you grow it? Let us know in the comments below. For instance, this bed right here, I've been waiting and waiting because my original plan was, spoiler alert, I wanted to basically mirror this bed into this bed. But because we're a little bit delayed and we're still waiting and the temperatures are rising a lot faster this year, we need to be very careful with that. Look, go ahead and pull that out while we're sitting here. And I may change my design, and I may end up putting my corn here. It looks like I've got another 2 weeks or so to put my corn in here, which would have been tomatoes. But this bed has been planted for, I think it's been about a week. So if we come over here to this bed, which we've started to clear out, it's all weeded. It's just got a couple more plants in here, and they will be emptied out soon enough. We can go ahead and mirror this bed over here and kind of stay on the harvest schedule. Got to be a little bit flexible, and so I'm trying to beat the heat. It's, you know, you get to a point of diminishing returns, and we're trying to beat the heat, and we're trying to get that going in the right direction. So I think that's what we're going to do here. You'll probably see that by the next video or two that'll be done. This next one serves two different purposes. So for this purpose in this bed, if we were having issues, we could put mulch down and then that would help to cool the roots, because a lot of times it's not just leaf temperature that causes them to bolt, it's the root temperature. So if you put a mulch down, and preferably a light colored mulch, you will get a lot less bolting, or you'll slow down the bolting part of it, because it is cooling it by up to 5 degrees, which is a huge difference. Over here to this tomato bed, mulch is very important too, but it's not so much just for heat itself. It's for moisture. If you look at this bed right now, it's bare soil. I mean, you know, it's got stuff planted in it, but there's a lot of bare soil. There's a lot of evaporation of the moisture, which isn't terrible right now because the root systems are small. And also we want the soil to warm up more in the cooler evenings, which are going away very quickly. So right about now, it doesn't really matter anymore. We could put mulch down if we want, but that's gonna help keep it a little bit cooler. Again, you'll still get the same 5 degrees, but also what it does, and this will benefit this bed as well if we wanted to use it, but you can see we don't really need to use it because our harvest period is coming. It will help with the holding consistent moisture in your plants. And so that will help with tomato cracking, inconsistent growth, nutrient transport, all that stuff. So we use a lot of mulch here because of the heat, because even though it's not directly related, the heat will cause the moisture to evaporate, which will dry out the soil, which will cause all those issues I had just mentioned. So moisture retention is everything, and it's not necessarily adding like coco coir, I think that's how you say it, or anything like that. It's literally just trapping it in there with the mulch, and then that will help keep your soil alive and thrive, right? That's what we want to do. So we keep that into effect. Now, the other thing we can do, just like we talked about in the last video with weed control, is keeping our plants closer together so it shades it out, because this also acts at it. I mean, if I touch, I need to get a thermometer, but if I reach down here, I can feel the difference underneath here with my hand versus the top of the leaves. So that in itself is acting as a cooling mechanism as well. Let's just put a wild guess on it, because I have no real, I got a bee chasing me. I have no real scientific, you know, way of proving this to you. But let's say, I do know that the mulch keeps the soil 5 degrees cooler. Now let's say on top of that, you plant them closer together. So then you're cooling your soil temperature another degree. Let's just be very basic, call it a degree. That's 6 degrees. And then on top of that, we're watering, so making sure the water gets in, which is absolutely going to cool it even more. So you're looking at probably close to a 10-degree difference from here to there. So when it's 85 outside, it's now going to be 75 down below. Then you add shade on top of that, which can cool 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, depending on the shade cloth you use, you can get up to 8 degrees cooling. You're significantly cooling what's underneath all of that by doing all of these different steps. So it's really, really important. Now let's assume that we have not done any of these measures and the garden's going to crap. Okay, let's say you've stumbled across this video in August. What do? Well, you can always add the mulch in at any time. I like to put the mulch in here. I'll probably add mulch in about 3 weeks, roughly. As soon as these plants start to get pretty hefty, I'm gonna pile it on as soon as the temperatures start to warm up. But you'll start to see, if the heat's getting to them, you'll start to see water issues, you know, limping leaves, maybe yellowing leaves. You're gonna get poor growth and stuff like that. So what do? Got a couple options. So one, you can start taking measures like we said, but also understand this: as the weather starts to cool down, your garden will get like a second breath of life. And those cooler temperatures, if you can keep everything alive in that time frame, will help for that to go back up more and more. So we want that to happen. Now I see it with peppers every year. Usually with us in about August, they look pitiful. And then all the way up until the last frost, it's like we get a final flush of peppers. Cayenne peppers are the worst. I mean, it's like we'll get probably, one plant will give us a rough estimate 50 peppers. And then in the last month of the growing season, we'll get probably 150 peppers. And it's just that those temperatures have gotten right, and it's cooled it down enough to where they're going to produce even more and utilize everything. Not to mention, we've kind of started our next round of feeding, getting everything ready for fall and stuff like that. And your fall rains are usually coming. So all of these factors are coming together all at once, and it's making this perfect storm to bring things back. Now, just a fair warning about a determinate tomato: once it stops giving you tomatoes, that's it. It's not going to produce but a handful more. So you're better off to pull them out and restart. And again, you can propagate them, you can start more seeds, you could direct some, you can do a lot of things, but you definitely want to take it down a notch and just understand that it's not going to give you more tomatoes. There's nothing wrong with the plant. That is the design of a determinate tomato, and it will just stop producing. But that's what you want, because then you're not worrying about keeping that plant alive in the heat of the summer. So if you live in the South, focus on determinants instead of indeterminants. You know, all these things kind of add up. And then do a second planting. If you get an extremely long season, go for it. Give it another planting of squashes and stuff like that, just to see what it'll do. I think you're going to be very surprised about how much more you're going to grow and how less stressful it's going to be dealing with the heat in your garden.